Hello, welcome to World Giraffe Day. My name is Dr. James Danoff Berg. I am the Director of Conservation here at the Living Desert Zoo and Gardens in Palm Desert, California. Normally World Giraffe Day is on the longest day of the year, which is in June. We instead in the desert celebrate it in December, on the shortest day of the year, because it is much more hospitable for our visitors. So, December 21st, we are celebrating World Giraffe Day with you, which is why we are making these videos. Giraffe are an amazing animal, and hopefully you'll see them walking around on the hills behind me here. But what you may not know is that giraffe are facing what we are calling a silent extinction, because many people are unaware that their population numbers have plummeted so fast in just the last few decades. Much of the reason why giraffe are declining in population size has to do with loss of habitat, loss of places to live, hunting, snaring, as well as trophy hunting or just poaching with a gun. And so as a consequence, we want to talk to you about each of those today. In this video, we're going to talk very briefly about the hunting problem, the poaching problem with guns. So giraffe, unfortunately, are found very frequently on the landscape dead because the poacher has come through, a hunter has come through and killed it, left behind the body, possibly including the skull of the giraffe, which is what this is, a skull of a giraffe. And what we often want to do is to be able to try to work against that hunting, especially the illegal hunting. To do that, we want to build power and support for an organization that does this amazingly well in South Africa, which is the Black Mamba's Anti-Poaching Unit. This amazing group of all women patrol the areas to the west of Kruger National Park in the northeastern part of South Africa. They walk 10 kilometers a day to look for poachers coming in and shooting giraffe, shooting rhino, shooting kudu, which you'll have seen walking around with us as well. So check out amazing women of South Africa, the Black Mamba's Anti-Poaching Unit. Where they have been active, they have reduced poaching by over 80% since their inception 6 years ago. They're an amazing group of people. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for caring about giraffes. And thank you for being an advocate for conservation.
Hi there, my name's Nick. Thank you for joining us for our World Giraffe Day celebration. I'm here in front of our watering hole at our Savannah habitat. I'm going to tell you about the nutrition that we feed our animals here at the Living Desert. So the main thing that we feed them is these browse, so a nice delicious acacia. This is longleaf acacia. It's really beautiful, has no thorns, but if you look above me, you can kind of see another kind of acacia. That one does have really long thorns. The giraffe are able to eat that though. They've got some adaptations to be able to help with that. So the acacia is their favorite food source. Another thing that they really love is they love this alfalfa hay. So we got this nice flake of alfalfa hay. It's got a lot of protein for them to kind of match the leaves that they would be eating in the wild. This is one of the main things that we feed them throughout the day. But for training though, we got a really delicious food. All these veggies, if you can look in there, we got some carrots, we got some peppers, we got some zucchini. They really love yams, and then a couple kinds of fruits, maybe some banana every once in a while. And then also, they get this really delicious grain mix. So this is a wild herbivore grain mix. Basically, again, it's a lot of plant material and grain that they kind of mix together to make a very nutritious food source. Very similar to like the dog food that you guys feed to your dogs. Same thing, very nutritious, and they take all the water out of it so for long-term storage. But I want to tell you about the wild giraffe. In the wild, they get most of their water from the leaves that they eat on the trees. So they don't have to drink every single day. It's mainly every 2 to 3 days. But the water sources in Africa, unfortunately, are drying up as this world gets hotter. There's less water to go around, and it doesn't stay in this spot quite as often or as long as it used to. So these animals and other animals, unfortunately, are losing out on those natural water sources that they kind of rely on. It's a major thing that we're trying to reverse and trying to help get more water sources and keep more natural water sources available for the giraffe and then other animals in the wild. But again, I'd like to thank you all for coming and joining us here on our World Giraffe Day celebration, and give a big wave to our very tall animals. Giraffe Conservation and Care Center. I'm joined by some of our giraffe. We got Harold right behind me, his mom Tuli, and then we have, it looks like Capano and Vicky Lou hanging out behind the training center. I'm here to tell you about World Giraffe Day. It's a very awesome day. It's gonna be on June 21st. It's the longest day of the year, so we're celebrating the tallest animals on the planet. Right here at GC3, we focus on our husbandry care, so training with the animals. We focus on their hoof care, we focus on their weight, and then also we can do some blood draw or injection training as well. So right next to me, we have this little cutout. It's where we do our hoof training. What we do with them is we ask the giraffe to step up onto a special hoof block, and then we're able to use farrier tools or horse hoof tools to be able to trim and file and pick away any parts of the hooves that are growing incorrectly, and also just to make sure that the hooves are growing correctly in general. Because the animals spend all day on their feet, we want to make sure their hooves are growing correctly, because if they have incorrect growth in their hooves, it can translate all the way up their legs into their back, and they can have some really bad structural problems. So the hoof care is their #1 focus that we have with these animals. Also, you see I'm standing on a scale. So what we're able to do with this is we can ask the giraffe to step on the scale on the inside the training center, and that allows us to get a nice weight on them. We keep tracks of their weights to make sure that they're, 1, growing very correctly, 2, making sure that if we start noticing any body deformations or anything concerning health-wise, we can get them to stand on the scale and get an accurate weight. And then also for our female giraffe, when we are thinking that they're pregnant, we can't really do an ultrasound with these animals, so getting weights on them is the best way to kind of tell if that baby is growing nice and healthy inside of them. Also, we have a scale on the other side, so when we have our guests here, we're able to do a compare and contrast with our guests and see how many people it takes to weigh as much as 1 giraffe. Roughly about 10 people. And then also the last thing that I mentioned is that we're able to do injection training with them, so we can bring their heads down in here and get those very long necks extended out, so that we and our vet staff are able to either give them medical injections or, like I mentioned, be able to extract blood to be able to take tests, again, to make sure that they're nice and healthy. Unfortunately, though, giraffe in the wild are going through a population decline. Their populations are hovering at about 100,000 individuals on the whole continent of Africa. And that's about a 40% population decrease in just a very short time, 3 decades or 30 years. But we're working with many groups that are working in Africa to try and reverse that trend. One such group, they're called the Black Mambas. They're an anti-poaching unit based in South Africa, and what they do is they patrol their national parks looking for poachers, looking for any signs of poachers, and then also, really important, removing any snare traps that they might see in the ground. Those are basically a little wire noose that's on the ground. An animal will get their foot or hoof stuck into it, and then they'll pull, and it'll pull really tight so they're stuck. A lot of the smaller animals will be stuck there and will possibly perish. The giraffe are actually strong enough to be able to pull that snare out, but then they got this thing stuck around their leg that's either causing injury itself, or it can slow them down and cause them to be predated upon by other animals. So like I mentioned, we're working with the Black Mambas so that they can remove those snare traps in their national park system, so that the giraffe and all the other animals in the area have a nice, healthy environment to live in. So by being here, by being guests, by helping support us, you're helping to support those in Africa. And I really want to give a big thanks to you guys. You're doing a lot to help us out so that we can help support those groups in Africa and keep these giraffe around for many more generations. Again, my name is Nick, and I'd really like to thank you for joining us for World Giraffe Day, and I hope you all have the best day ever.
Hello. Again, my name is Dr. James, and I am the Director of Conservation here at the Living Desert Zoo and Gardens. Thank you again for joining us here on World Giraffe Day, where we stand tall for the tallest animal in the world on the longest night of the world. And the longest night is relevant, of course, because that giraffe are facing a significant threat. Their numbers are declining precipitously over the last couple decades, such that now there are fewer than 100,000 across the whole of Africa of these lovely beasts that are inspiring these these models. So there's a lot that you can do to help out giraffe. One is to support the Black Mambas, who we talked about earlier, who help to remove snares from the wild that are catching giraffe, as well as all the other animals. Where they work in South Africa, they have been able to reduce poaching by over 80%. It's an amazing success story. Second, you can support the Wild Nature Institute. who works in Tanzania to take the giraffe, which is the national animal of Tanzania, and make it even more prominent and more important for Tanzanians in really creative ways. They use songs. They've created a gospel song and a rap-based song. They use educational curricula, and they work in communities to try to improve how people perceive giraffes, perceive conservation, and perceive the benefits of having giraffes and giraffe conservation happening around them. We work with Wild Nature Institute as well as the Black Mambas, and we work to evaluate their programs. We collect the data to understand how effective those songs are, how effective those educational programs are, how effective those community engagement programs are. Wild Nature Institute also does the largest giraffe survey in the world in northern Tanzania. So they know not just how to talk about them, but where the giraffe are. Last, you can support us here at the Living Desert Zoo and Gardens because we work with these two fantastic organizations on behalf of giraffes and many others who also benefit giraffe conservation. So now on World Giraffe Day, thank you for standing tall for the tallest animal on the longest night of the year. Thanks for everything you do to help conservation.